I run my own personal training business online. I also post a lot on social media,
And there's
in
three
terms of
things
helping
that you
people
need to
improve
do.
their
And
form,
one of them is focus on
and
strengthening your
yeah,
triceps.
and
So
being a bit of
make
a
sure
less
you're
dick in the
doing.
gym, basically.
I was quite overweight when I was younger, so I think that's what it was. It was more losing weight than anything, but I think naturally you find this progression into bodybuilding when you get into health and fitness and things like that. And I think I started, it must have been just roughly maybe 2 years ago. I think if you spoke to anyone that's bodybuild, or even just people that keep on top of their health and things like that, it's something that helps a lot. I think if you feel good, you feel healthy. I think it mentally helps you feel healthy. And yeah, I think it's something that's very, very important, I think, when, bodybuilding and health comes into everything. I think, yeah, your mental state changes completely. I think the more, like, I've even noticed it, the more consistent I get, the better I feel. So yeah, I think it's helped a lot.
So I started training when I was like 14. My dad brought me some free weight equipment for Christmas, and that's where it all really started for me. From that point, I just started doing the usual stuff, bit of bench press, bit of biceps, some body. I had a basically like a bodyweight frame, which I started doing pull-ups on as well, and I just sort of got some consistency together, and then sort of realized, oh wait, look, I'm improving, I'm getting better. Like, oh, this is how it works, and just sort of innovate from there really. And, now to a point where I've trained for 10 years and I'm 25. Yeah, it's mad how it started so small, but it's all started from there. I just built my body up. I was a rugby player when I was younger. So it was one of the main reasons I got into it, was because I was quite small when I'd literally just quit rugby because I wasn't enjoying it, and I felt quite small and just unable to compete. And then I sort of trained a lot, and all of a sudden, I was then in the place where I felt I could compete a lot more, and that was the reason why I started training more than anything. It's because, it was all for sport. But that's sort of where it went. I think when you start out training, you always start with bodybuilding anyway, because you got to build muscle. So you're always thinking of bodybuilding style training, because that's really what it's about. But for me, that's where I found the principles, and that's where I just kept building from there. And then, it got to a point where I was done with rugby, and got a lot of injuries in terms of playing. I retired I think I retired when I was 20, 21 or 22 actually. And, I was just like, I'm done. And I wanted to move on and do something different, do something that probably gave me a bit more purpose. And that's why I moved into personal training, and sort of haven't looked back ever since really. I like thoroughly enjoy it, and it's just something that gives me a lot of purpose for sure. Steroids, whatever it will be. If you're a pro bodybuilder, I get it. It's part of sport. Like, genuinely, there's not a person on the Olympia stage that probably doesn't take anything, really. Unless you are literally doing natural shows, like, everyone will be taking certain substances to make sure they're in the best position they can be on that day. So my opinion's this, if that's what you want to do with your body, you go ahead. The only thing I don't really agree with is just the lack of transparency. The problem I have with the fitness industry and, steroids, PEDs, anything to do with any performance enhancing drugs is, people have to be honest with it. Otherwise, you are massively slandering people's expectations. And, a lot of people in the industry lie about their, let's say whether they're natural or not, their natty status, based on the fact that they know that people look up to them. And because people look up to them, they don't, they know that then people will buy their supplements, people will, buy the products that they sell. And that means that then they make more money. So ultimately, they know if they went out and went, you know what, I take steroids, the chances are that would affect their sales, that would affect how people look at them, it would sort of dim the light of the fact that people look up to them or people see them as such a specimen, because they know actually they've taken a substance to get there. And that's my only thing that I have against anyone that does really take PEDs is not the fact they take PEDs, it's just how they act with it. Are they honest, are they responsible, do they educate people on it? For me, that's what it should be all about. And that's the only issue that I'd ever really find. At the end of the day, what you do with your body is what you do with your body.
I understand them. Not something that I personally do, I don't think. I think I think I'd only do it. It's difficult. I think it's one of those things that I understand. When like legitimate bodybuilders, people that go to all these competitions do it. I think it needs to be more widespread and well known that it's more common than you think. But yeah, for me, it's not something I think I'd ever use. I don't think I'd ever need to be at a point where I need to use performance enhancing drugs to help me. I just, it doesn't seem worth it. I think it's the side effects and things like that. I've heard of stories where, people's, like tricep will just pop or stuff like that. Or, yeah, it's all the horror stories I think involved in it. I think it's just safer if you were to avoid it. you know, 15, 16 years old getting into gym, fitness, bodybuilding, things like that. And you are seeing these people online, even just looking at like TikTok, for example, or Instagram. You know, they're showing their bodies at these perfect lighting, perfect things, and they're obviously on stuff that enhances them and helps them. And then you've got these kids, they start hitting the gym, they're going consistently, they're doing all the right things, and then they're not being taught how to build muscle correctly, because all the people that they've learned from and that are being taught are people that are using all these performance enhancing drugs that aren't being transparent about it. And I think that's definitely a negative thing when you've got people that are so influential on the bodybuilding world doing that.
Expectations very much define our happiness. You know, expectations of how things should be, expectations of how we should be, very much define how we feel. If we expect something high of ourselves and do not achieve it, we will be moody, we will hate we will be annoyed at ourselves, you know, we'll be unhappy. But if we have low expectations and we can overcome those and, you know, reach above those, then we'll be well happy. So, you know, the problem with what people do in terms of not being honest and not saying, you know, this is the substance I take, it then makes a lot of people not want to try, because they go to the gym for a year or even less than that, and they're like, why haven't I got